Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm really glad you're joining us today because we're looking at a truly chilling mystery out in the vast, unforgiving Nevada desert. We're going to walk through the facts, the timelines, and the physical evidence to really piece together what happened to a woman named Candy Sturgil. It's a story about a desperate fight for survival against a brutally harsh environment. Just listen to these final words for a second. Two elderly women down by the rocks need gas and battery charged. Been there 9 days, no food, found water hole below me, help. That's a direct quote. It's the stark, agonizing reality of a final message written by Candy herself. It instantly sets the stakes here, right? We're looking at a life or death situation. Starting with primary evidence like this gives us a really visceral sense of the timeline and just the immense suffering involved. I mean, how exactly do two women end up stranded for 9 days in the absolute middle of nowhere?
Well, let's get into it. Part 1, the desert disappearance. Let's walk through this timeline together. It starts with two lifelong friends, 75-year-old Candy Sturgil and 83-year-old Shirley Weaver. In October of 2020, they headed out on what should have been a pretty simple drive, likely toward Pyramid Lake. But for reasons we still don't completely know, their trip took a really disastrous detour into an incredibly rugged, desolate stretch of land. They were last seen on October 25th. Search and rescue crews immediately started scouring the desert roads, but absolutely nothing. It wasn't until November 10th, over 2 full weeks later, that their Toyota RAV4 was finally spotted. By December, official search efforts for Candy had to be suspended, and we wouldn't even get the official autopsy results for Shirley until February of 2021. Understanding these massive gaps in time is just absolutely crucial for grasping how insanely difficult this terrain is to navigate and search.
That brings us to part 2, discovering the RAV4.
The crazy thing is, the RAV4 wasn't even found by an organized search party. A passing hunter just happened to spot it miles down a nearly non-existent dirt path called Mixie Flat Road. I mean, this is the definition of the middle of nowhere. And the scene he stumbled upon was heartbreaking. The hood was propped open, the universal distress signal. The right front tire was totally flat. Inside, Candy's purse, her cash, her credit cards, all just sitting in the back seat, entirely useless in the desert. Meanwhile, the car keys were totally missing. But the most visceral detail, directly behind the vehicle, the women had torn up heavy dog food bags, weighed them down with rocks, and literally spelled out the word help. It paints such a clear, desperate mini-narrative of them trying to signal anyone who might happen to fly or drive by.
And there were a few other really eerie environmental clues around the car. Searchers noticed small candy wrappers just scattered in the dirt outside. An incredibly poignant little detail when you remember they disappeared right around Halloween. But the biggest red flag was a blanket. It was hung up, completely obscuring the view into the passenger window of the RAV4.
When deputies finally pulled back that blanket, they made a devastating discovery. 83-year-old Shirley Weaver was found deceased inside the vehicle. The medical examiner's findings eventually confirmed there was 0 signs of injury, no foul play whatsoever. The cause of death was officially ruled as starvation, ketoacidosis, and dehydration. The manner? Purely accidental, driven entirely by severe environmental exposure. It's just a tragic, sobering reminder of how completely unforgiving nature can be when you're trapped without resources.
Which leads us to part 3, following the footprints.
Because see, Shirley was alone in that car. Candy was gone. Investigators quickly found a set of footprints heading northwest, walking away from the relative safety of the vehicle. Now, to understand why she'd leave, you've got to understand the incredibly deceptive nature of this desert environment. During the day, it's actually not bad. Temperatures might peak around a very comfortable 70 degrees. But the second that sun goes down, the nighttime temperatures absolutely plummet into brutal freezing conditions, dropping way down into the low to mid-20s. So Candy was walking out into an environment that was actively trying to freeze her the moment night fell.
Following those footprints, searchers were led toward a natural groundwater source, an artesian spring. And honestly, the terrain out there tells its own grim story. Along the way, they were finding massive cow bones and an old rusted dump site full of weathered cans. This is an area absolutely bustling with predators: coyotes, bobcats, mountain lions, rattlesnakes. Near the spring, searchers found a plastic water bottle, and the production date on it was marked just before the women went missing. So it's highly probable Candy made this grueling trek just to get some temporary relief from dehydration, finding a water hole that, given the nighttime temps, was likely partially frozen over.
Part 4. A final desperate note.
While the footprints gave us a physical path, authorities actually made another massive breakthrough less than half a mile south of the car. It was a note, pinned to a fence. Written in pink ink and severely damaged by the weather, it took actual forensic analysis to pull the full text. And the most devastating part of that note was a single number: 9. 9 days. That's how long Candy stated they had been stuck down by the rock bed. Just take a second to think about the sheer psychological and physical endurance required there. Sitting in a stranded vehicle with a flat tire and a dead battery for over a week, just praying someone drives down a dead-end road. 9 whole days before Candy finally decided she had absolutely no other choice but to leave her friend and walk for help.
Part 5. A vital survival lesson. You know, a big reason we cover these events in this explainer is to pull actionable knowledge from tragedy. And this case presents a vital, absolutely crucial survival lesson. If you ever find yourself in this exact scenario, here is exactly what you need to do. Step 1. Say you get a flat tire in a remote, deadly area with zero cell service. Step 2. Do not stop. Do not sit in the car and listen to the radio until your battery completely dies. Step 3. Drive on the wheel rim. According to police reports, their RAV4 was in fine mechanical shape, it had gas. The only reason they were stuck was a flat tire. If you're ever in this situation, put the car in gear and just drive on the flat. Yes, you will absolutely ruin your tire, and you're likely to destroy the metal rim of your wheel too. But sacrificing your vehicle's parts is infinitely better than risking your life getting stranded in the desert. Drive the car out.
Part 6. A son's regrets.
To really understand the impact of a disappearance like this, we have to look past just the timelines and the evidence and look at the people left behind. Candy's son had moved out of state to start his own life, and incredibly, he actually didn't find out his mother was missing until nearly a year after she vanished. When he finally made it back to her property in Nevada, he found her house had been completely stripped and burglarized. In an interview, he said, "I wish I'd stayed here, this would have never happened." He recounted that his final interaction with his mom years prior was actually an argument over a photograph he'd brought her as a gift. It really grounds this whole mystery in such a profound universal reality, right? Human grief, the crazy complexity of family relationships, and the heavy, heavy burden of regretful final interactions.
Part 7. The search continues.
Local authorities threw everything they had at this. Massive searches involving canine teams, helicopters, ground crews before they had to officially suspend efforts in December of 2020. And honestly, it's easy to see why. The desert landscape out there just endlessly repeats in every single direction. Even in broad daylight, it is incredibly easy to lose your bearings, get turned around, and accidentally wander deeper into the brush. So the ultimate question remains, will Candy Sturgil ever be found? Recently, private searchers and documentary crews have taken to the skies, capturing thousands of drone images of the vast area surrounding where that RAV4 was parked. But they need human eyes to scan these images for anomalies, maybe a piece of clothing or a clue that ground searchers just walked right past. If you want to actively step up and help bring some closure to this family, you can actually view and scan those images yourself at www.davisi.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep asking those tough questions, keep learning, and I can't wait to explore our next topic with you.